The morning of the wedding was bright and quiet, with sunlight filtering softly through the curtains. The bride moved slowly around her room, carefully checking the details that had taken months to plan. Every small thing mattered to her, from the flowers to the table settings, from the arrangement of the chairs to the music that would fill the air. She had dreamed of this day for years, imagining how perfect it could be, and now it was finally here. Excitement and nerves danced together in her chest, making it hard to sit still. While she was going over the final list of music one more time, a soft knock came at the door. She turned, expecting one of her bridesmaids or perhaps a family member, but instead a woman she barely recognized stepped inside. She seemed nervous, holding a small case close to her chest. The bride looked at her politely, trying to understand why she was there at such a busy time. "Hello," the woman said softly. "I hope I'm not disturbing you. I just wanted to ask something, and I completely understand if it's too late." There was a pause, and the bride noticed the careful way she chose her words. There was a certain kindness in her eyes that made the bride stop for a moment. "It's okay. What is it?" the bride asked, trying to keep her voice calm despite the whirlwind of activity around her. The woman smiled nervously. "My daughter is a musician, and she recently moved to this town. She has a deep love for playing at special moments, and I thought she might have a chance to play at your wedding. I know it's unusual to ask, and I understand if you say no, but I wanted to at least offer." She opened the small case briefly, revealing the edge of a polished instrument. The bride's curiosity stirred, though she tried to hide it behind a polite smile. The bride felt a mix of emotions. Weddings were filled with surprises, but she had never allowed anyone outside the circle of family and friends to perform. This was unplanned and sudden. Yet, there was something about the sincerity in the mother's expression that made her pause. The way she held herself, respectful and gentle, suggested that this was more than just a random request. "I'm not sure," the bride admitted, her voice soft. "We have a schedule and everything has been planned carefully. I don't usually allow uninvited performers." The woman nodded, as if she had expected that response. "I understand completely. I just thought it might be a small gift, a way to share something beautiful on your day. She has a way of playing that touches people deeply. If there's even a little space for her, I believe she could make a moment special." She looked down briefly, then back at the bride with hopeful eyes. The bride leaned back in her chair, thinking. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing on her. The wedding had to be perfect, yes, but what if the stranger's daughter could bring something that nothing else could? Music had always been an important part of her life, and the idea of a melody that came from unexpected hands intrigued her. She felt the tiniest spark of curiosity. "Could she play a short piece just to show me?" the bride asked carefully. She didn't promise anything, only that she would listen. The woman's face brightened immediately. "Of course," she said, and handed the instrument to her daughter, who had quietly entered behind her. The girl was small and unassuming, with eyes that seemed more focused on the instrument than on the bustling room around her. She nodded politely to the bride before taking her place by the window where the sunlight caught the edges of her instrument. The bride watched silently as the girl began to play. The first notes were soft and gentle, filling the room with a delicate, warm sound. The melody was simple at first, almost hesitant, but there was a purity to it that made the bride stop in her tracks. It wasn't flashy or showy. It didn't try to demand attention. Instead, it spoke quietly, like a story being told directly to her heart. Guests were still arriving outside, and the sounds of laughter and chatter could be heard faintly through the walls. Yet in this small room, the music created a calm that seemed to pause time. The bride felt a lump in her throat as the notes continued, each one carrying emotion and care. There was something about the way the girl played that suggested not just skill, but a deep understanding of what music could do. When the piece ended, there was a moment of silence. The bride blinked several times, as if waking from a dream. She looked at the girl, who gave a small, polite smile, and then at the mother, whose eyes were shining with quiet pride. The bride realized that this moment was different from anything she had expected. She could feel how much heart had gone into that performance, and she began to see the possibility of what it might add to her wedding day. "That was beautiful," the bride said softly. Her words felt almost too small to describe what she had just experienced. "Thank you. I wasn't expecting that. It's really touching." The mother smiled warmly, stepping closer. "I'm glad you think so. She doesn't play for everyone, but she has a way of connecting through music. If there's even a tiny spot in your day, she would be honored to share it with you." The bride sat for a moment, thinking about the day ahead. The schedule was tight, the plans precise, but the warmth in her chest told her something important. Sometimes the best moments came from the unexpected, from trusting someone new and allowing them to be part of something special. She had spent so much time trying to control every detail that she had almost forgotten the magic of surprise, the beauty of a moment that wasn't planned but became unforgettable. "All right," she said finally, smiling. "I think there might be a place for her. Let's find a moment where she can play. Thank you for asking, and thank you for sharing her with me." The mother's relief was visible. She nodded, and the girl's eyes lit up, a mix of shyness and excitement. The bride realized that in agreeing to this, she wasn't just letting someone play music. She was opening the door to a new memory, something that could make her wedding day even more meaningful than she had imagined. The bride felt a sense of anticipation that was different from her earlier nerves. It was lighter, warmer. She had no idea exactly how this would turn out, but she could feel that it was going to be special. The stranger and her daughter left briefly to prepare, leaving the bride with a quiet smile and a feeling of hope. Even in the busy moments of the morning, the music had planted a seed of wonder, something that could grow into a memory she would carry for the rest of her life. She returned to her preparations, but the melody lingered in her mind. Every adjustment, every small detail she checked, now seemed to carry a new energy. The wedding day was still full of excitement and nerves, but there was also a sense of calm and joy that hadn't been there before. She realized that sometimes the most meaningful things came not from what was planned, but from the courage of someone who simply asked. That tiny act had changed the way she was seeing her day, turning an ordinary morning into something quietly magical. The sun was higher in the sky now, filling the rooms with a warm, golden light. Guests had begun to arrive, their voices and laughter creating a gentle hum of excitement throughout the venue. The bride moved through the space, checking every detail one last time. Chairs were perfectly lined, flowers arranged just so, and the scent of fresh blossoms filled the air. She had spent months imagining this day, and it was finally happening. Her heart raced, a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation, as she adjusted the veil and looked around the room. Earlier that morning, she had made the decision to let the stranger's daughter perform. Now, as she watched the young girl quietly preparing by the side of the room, a sense of curiosity and wonder filled her. The daughter held her instrument carefully, almost protectively, her hands steady but her eyes bright with focus. She didn't speak much, only nodding politely to the bride when their eyes met. There was something calm and earnest about her presence, a quiet strength that contrasted with the flurry of activity around them. The bride took a deep breath, reminding herself that this day was about love, joy, and connection. She remembered the first time she had heard the girl play, how each note had reached into her heart and stayed there. Now, with the wedding unfolding around her, she felt a growing anticipation to see how the performance would fit into the day. It was a small, unexpected addition, but one that she sensed would carry a powerful meaning. The mother stayed close, helping the daughter set up her instrument and making sure she felt comfortable. The bride noticed the quiet pride in the mother's eyes, the way she stood slightly behind her daughter, giving her space but ready to support her if needed. It was clear that music was not just a skill for this girl. It was something she carried deeply within her, and her mother understood that completely. Guests were beginning to gather, finding their seats, and the bride could hear the faint sound of chatter and laughter from outside. The young girl's calm demeanor stood in contrast to the bustling energy of the wedding preparations. She adjusted her instrument gently, testing the strings and listening carefully to each note. The bride watched in silence, feeling an unexpected sense of connection to the girl. It was as if the music, the moment, and the emotions of the day were all waiting to be bridged by this one presence. When the officiant began to guide the first few steps of the ceremony, the bride took her place and looked at the faces of her family and friends. There was love and excitement in every smile, but her eyes kept drifting back to the daughter, who was ready to perform. She felt a flutter in her chest, a mix of nerves and hope. Could this small, quiet girl really create a moment that everyone would remember? She didn't know, but she wanted to believe it. The ceremony started, and the daughter was invited to play her first piece. Her small fingers moved across the instrument with precision and care. The melody flowed gently, starting softly and gradually filling the space with sound. It was not loud or overwhelming, but it had a presence that demanded attention in the most subtle way. Each note seemed to speak directly to the bride's heart, evoking memories of joy, anticipation, and even the challenges that had led to this moment. Guests began to notice as well. Some turned their heads, curious about the sound that seemed to rise naturally above the murmurs of conversation. Others closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them. It was a strange and beautiful feeling, to hear something so pure and sincere in the middle of a busy wedding. The bride could feel a lump forming in her throat, emotions rising that she hadn't expected. This was more than just a musical performance. It was a story being told without words, a connection being made that transcended introductions or previous knowledge. As the piece continued, the bride could see how deeply the daughter was concentrating. Her face was calm, focused, and yet there was a spark of emotion in her eyes. Every note seemed to carry meaning, as if she was sharing a part of herself with the room, with the bride, and with everyone witnessing this moment. The mother watched from the side, holding her breath slightly, proud and anxious at the same time. She knew the impact her daughter could have, and she wanted nothing more than for the bride and the guests to feel the depth of her talent. The bride, standing in the center of the room, felt a rush of gratitude. She had been unsure about allowing an uninvited performer earlier, but now she realized how wrong she would have been to deny this opportunity. The music brought a kind of magic that could not be planned or scheduled. It reminded her of the importance of openness, of trusting someone new, and of allowing unexpected moments to shine. The melody shifted slightly, becoming more expressive and flowing. Guests were leaning forward in their seats, listening intently. The young girl's skill was evident, but it was her emotion and sincerity that captivated everyone. She played not for attention, not for applause, but simply to share something beautiful. The bride noticed a few tears glistening in the eyes of some family members and friends. She herself felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a combination of awe and gratitude. When the final note lingered in the air, there was a brief pause. The room seemed to hold its breath for a moment, as if reluctant to return to ordinary sounds and conversation. Then, softly, a few guests clapped, followed by others. The bride stepped forward, her smile radiant and heartfelt, and thanked the daughter personally. "That was incredible," she said softly. "I never imagined it could be this beautiful. Thank you for sharing this with us." The daughter bowed slightly, a shy smile on her face, and the mother's eyes glistened with pride. The bride felt a connection she hadn't anticipated. She realized that this small moment, this act of sharing music, had created a bridge between strangers, turning them into a part of her most important day. The daughter's talent and sincerity had touched hearts, not just with skill, but with authenticity. After the performance, the bride took a few moments to speak with the mother and daughter. They exchanged smiles, kind words, and a quiet understanding of what had just happened. There was no need for long explanations or gestures. The impact was already clear. The daughter had found her place in this special day, not because she was invited or expected, but because she had courage and talent that could not be ignored. The rest of the ceremony continued, but the bride carried the memory of that music with her. Each time she glanced toward the daughter, she felt a quiet joy and gratitude. She knew that this moment would be remembered not just by her, but by everyone who had experienced it. The simplicity of the girl's presence, the honesty of her performance, and the warmth of her heart had created a memory that no other part of the day could replicate. As the wedding day progressed, The bride kept thinking about how unexpected events sometimes became the most meaningful. She realized that letting the daughter play had added a depth to her celebration that she had never anticipated. It was a reminder that beauty often comes from the courage to step forward, from sharing one's talents freely, and from opening your heart to strangers who carry gifts in their hands and souls. By the end of the day, the bride felt a sense of calm satisfaction. The music had not only filled the room with melody, but had also filled her heart with a lasting sense of joy. She knew that, in years to come, she would remember this part of her wedding not just for the perfection of the decorations or the excitement of the ceremony, but for the quiet, extraordinary moment when a stranger's daughter shared her gift and touched everyone present in a way that could never be forgotten. The day continued to unfold with laughter, chatter, and moments of quiet reflection. The bride walked through the venue, feeling lighter than she had all morning. The daughter's performance had set a tone of beauty and sincerity that lingered in the air, a quiet magic that made everything feel more meaningful. Guests were settling into their seats, exchanging greetings, and marveling at the decorations and arrangements. But beneath the surface, a sense of anticipation had grown. Everyone seemed to feel, even without knowing it, that something special was about to happen. The young girl prepared to play again, this time for the bride's entrance. She adjusted her instrument carefully, her fingers brushing the strings as she tested the notes. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held a spark of excitement. She had already shared her music once, but now the stakes felt higher. She understood that this moment would be witnessed by everyone, that it would mark a beginning in a day full of beginnings. The mother watched from a short distance, her hands clasped in front of her. She could see the determination in her daughter's posture, the way she seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the music even before the first note was played. The mother's pride was evident, but she also felt the flutter of nervousness that came with seeing someone you love take such a visible role in an important event. Outside, the final guests were finding their places, some taking their seats quietly, while others whispered with excitement. The bride stood behind the curtain, taking a deep breath. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with anticipation. She knew the music would change everything, just as it had done earlier in the day. There was a beauty in watching someone share a talent so honestly and openly, a beauty that could not be planned or purchased. The daughter began to play. The first notes were soft, almost hesitant, as she allowed the room to quiet and focus on the melody. Gradually, the music grew more confident, each note flowing naturally into the next. The bride stepped forward, feeling the notes reach her heart before they reached her ears. It was as if the music had a life of its own, a living, breathing presence that filled the space between every person and every object. Guests were captivated immediately. Some turned their heads, trying to find the source of the melody, while others closed their eyes, letting the sound envelop them. The daughter's playing was precise yet emotional, technical yet deeply human. She had learned to master her instrument, yes, but more importantly, she had learned to let her feelings flow through it. Each note carried meaning, telling a story without words, drawing the listeners into a world of sound that felt both intimate and grand. The bride walked down the aisle, her eyes never leaving the daughter. She felt a swell of gratitude and amazement. The music had transformed the space into something magical. Every step she took was guided by the rhythm and emotion of the melody, making her feel as if the moment was unfolding not just in front of everyone else, but within her heart as well. She could feel the connection to every person present, the shared experience of hearing something beautiful and true. The daughter's playing seemed to respond to the movement of the bride, shifting slightly with the emotions in the room. There were subtle changes in tempo, a gentle crescendo here, a delicate pause there, as if the music was breathing alongside the people it surrounded. It was a delicate balance, and the girl managed it flawlessly. She was not performing for applause or recognition. She was giving a piece of herself to the moment, and everyone could feel it. Some guests dabbed at their eyes, moved by the unexpected beauty of the performance. It was not often that someone uninvited could create such a powerful impression. And yet here she was, commanding attention without demanding it. The bride felt tears prick her own eyes, a mix of joy, relief, and the profound understanding that this day had been made more special because of this young musician. As the bride reached the front, the music softened, creating a gentle backdrop that allowed her to take her place. The officiant gave a small nod, acknowledging the delicate timing. The daughter continued to play, her fingers moving skillfully, her face serene but focused. The bride felt a quiet connection to her, a recognition that they were sharing something far greater than a simple musical moment. It was an exchange of trust, courage, and emotion that would remain with both of them forever. The mother watched closely, her heart swelling with pride and happiness. She knew the journey to this day had not been easy for her daughter. Moving to a new town, learning to navigate new surroundings, and finding her place had all required strength and resilience. Seeing her daughter succeed in this way, touching so many hearts, was a reward for every challenge they had faced together. When the piece came to its gentle conclusion, the room held its breath for a moment. The last note hung in the air, vibrating softly before fading into silence. A spontaneous wave of applause followed, not loud or exaggerated, but heartfelt and sincere. The bride smiled brightly, feeling the warmth of everyone's emotions. She stepped forward, extending her hand to the young girl in gratitude. "Thank you," she said simply, her voice filled with genuine emotion. "That was beyond beautiful. I will never forget this moment." The daughter bowed slightly, a small, shy smile playing on her lips, while the mother's eyes glistened with quiet tears. It was a moment of shared understanding, a recognition that something extraordinary had happened because of courage, talent, and openness. As the ceremony moved forward, the bride found herself thinking about how important it was to allow unexpected things into life. So often, people clung to plans and schedules, afraid to let surprises disrupt their carefully constructed days. But here was proof that when someone steps forward with honesty and heart, the results can be magical. The daughter had created a memory that would stay with the bride, the guests, and herself forever. Even after the ceremony, the music lingered in everyone's minds. Guests whispered to each other about how remarkable the performance had been, how the girl had seemed to transform the day with her presence. The bride felt a sense of calm and joy that she hadn't felt at any other wedding she had attended or imagined. It was a reminder that true beauty often comes in unexpected forms, from those willing to share their talents freely and sincerely. Later, the bride took a moment to speak privately with the daughter and her mother. She expressed her heartfelt gratitude once again, telling them how much the performance had meant. The daughter's smile was small but full of pride, and the mother's eyes shone with emotion. They had given a gift that could not be measured in money or fame, only in the lasting impression left on hearts and minds. The day continued, filled with laughter, dancing, and celebration, but the bride carried the memory of that music with her. Each time she glanced toward the daughter, she felt a sense of warmth and connection. She knew that what had happened was rare and precious, a moment when trust, courage, and talent converged to create something unforgettable. By the end of the day, as the sun dipped low and cast a golden glow across the venue, the bride reflected on the events. She realized that this wedding had been perfect not because everything went according to plan, but because she had been open to something unexpected. The stranger's daughter had touched her heart and the hearts of everyone present, leaving a mark that would endure long after the flowers had wilted and the guests had gone home. The memory of that music, the emotions it carried, and the courage it represented would stay with her forever. A quiet reminder of the beauty that can come from trusting and embracing the unexpected. After the main ceremony, the celebration moved into full swing. Guests mingled, laughter echoed across the venue, and the air was filled with the scent of flowers and freshly prepared food. The bride walked among her friends and family, smiling, hugging, and thanking people for coming. Her heart was full, not just from the happiness of her special day, but from the memory of the young musician who had made the wedding unforgettable. The daughter, still carrying her instrument carefully, remained close to her mother. She had played beautifully earlier, but now she was simply enjoying the atmosphere, observing the joy she had helped create. There was a quiet sense of pride in her posture, but she was not seeking attention. The bride noticed her and felt compelled to approach. Walking up to the girl, the bride smiled warmly. "I can't thank you enough for what you did today. You made this day so much more special. Everyone was talking about your performance, and I will never forget it." The girl looked down briefly, shyly, before lifting her eyes to meet the bride's. There was a small, tentative smile that expressed both humility and pride. The mother stepped forward, her hands clasped together, a proud look on her face. "She's had a love for music for as long as she can remember," she said softly. "Moving here has been difficult, but she never gave up on her dream. Thank you for giving her the chance to share it today." The bride nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. This simple act of recognition and gratitude seemed to make both mother and daughter light up with happiness. As the evening went on, the daughter's music became a topic of conversation among guests. Many approached her to compliment her playing, some asking questions about her training and background. She answered politely, her words simple but sincere. Each compliment was received with a quiet nod or a soft smile, showing her humility despite the recognition. It was clear to everyone that her gift was not just in her skill but in the way she used it to touch others. The bride found herself reflecting on the journey that had led to this moment. She thought about how she had initially been unsure, hesitant to let a stranger's daughter perform at such an important event. Yet now, she realized that saying yes had brought a depth to her wedding that nothing else could have created. The music had opened hearts, forged connections, and left memories that would last far beyond the day itself. She took a few moments to sit quietly, watching the daughter interact with guests. There was a grace in the way she moved, a gentle confidence that had grown from years of dedication and practice. The bride understood that this girl had faced challenges to reach this point, and she admired the courage it had taken to step into a room full of strangers and share something so personal. There was an unspoken lesson here about trust, vulnerability, and the power of following one's heart. Later, the bride invited the daughter and her mother to sit at a small table near the center of the room. They shared quiet conversation, laughter, and stories about the day so far. The bride asked about the daughter's journey to this town, and the mother explained the challenges they had faced, from moving to adjusting to a new environment. The bride listened intently, touched by the resilience and determination that had carried them through. "Your daughter's music has a way of connecting with people," the bride said, her voice warm. "It's not just skill, it's feeling. She doesn't just play notes. She tells a story, and it reaches everyone here." The daughter blushed slightly, looking down at her hands. She was unused to being praised so openly, yet she could feel the sincerity in the bride's words. The mother reached over and gently squeezed her daughter's hand, a quiet gesture of encouragement and pride. Throughout the evening, small moments continued to reinforce the impact of the daughter's performance. Guests would approach her with a shy smile, thanking her again for her music. Others shared stories of how her playing had brought back memories of their own special moments, or how it had simply made them feel calm and happy. Each interaction was a small thread, weaving a connection between the young musician and everyone around her. The bride watched all of this with a sense of fulfillment. She realized that her wedding had become more than just a celebration of her love. It had become a celebration of courage, talent, and the beauty of unexpected moments. By allowing the daughter to play, she had opened the door to a series of connections that would ripple far beyond the day itself. She felt grateful not only for the music but for the people behind it, the mother's encouragement, the daughter's dedication, and the willingness to step forward when given the opportunity. "Your daughter's music has a way of connecting with people," the bride said, her voice warm. "It's not just skill, it's feeling. She doesn't just play notes. She tells a story, and it reaches everyone here." The daughter blushed slightly, looking down at her hands. She was unused to being praised so openly, yet she could feel the sincerity in the bride's words. The mother reached over and gently squeezed her daughter's hand, a quiet gesture of encouragement and pride. Throughout the evening, small moments continued to reinforce the impact of the daughter's performance. Guests would approach her with a shy smile, thanking her again for her music. Others shared stories of how her playing had brought back memories of their own special moments, or how it had simply made them feel calm and happy. Each interaction was a small thread, weaving a connection between the young musician and everyone around her. The bride watched all of this with a sense of fulfillment. She realized that her wedding had become more than just a celebration of her love. It had become a celebration of courage, talent, and the beauty of unexpected moments. By allowing the daughter to play, she had opened the door to a series of connections that would ripple far beyond the day itself. She felt grateful not only for the music but for the people behind it, the mother's encouragement, the daughter's dedication, and the willingness to step forward when given the opportunity. As the night progressed, the daughter was asked if she would play one more piece for a few close friends and family. She agreed, her hands steady, her fingers moving across the instrument with practiced ease. The music was soft, intimate, and heartfelt, creating a quiet moment amidst the larger celebration. The guests listened in silence, appreciating the simple beauty of the sound and the effort behind it. The bride felt a deep sense of connection as she watched. She thought about how life often brought unexpected people and events into our paths, and how much richer our experiences could be if we allowed ourselves to embrace them. The daughter had entered her wedding as a stranger, yet she had become an integral part of the day, leaving an impression that would last a lifetime. When the last note faded, the room remained still for a heartbeat before applause filled the space. The daughter's face lit up with a small, shy smile, and the mother looked on with pride. The bride stepped forward once more, taking the girl's hand in hers. "You've given me a gift today that I will carry forever," she said softly. "Thank you for sharing your music, your courage, and your heart with all of us." The daughter nodded, her eyes shining with a mixture of pride and humility. The mother leaned close and whispered a quiet thank you as well. In that moment, the bride felt a deep sense of gratitude for the unexpected magic that had been woven into her special day. It was a memory that would never fade, a story she would tell for years to come about the stranger's daughter who had touched so many hearts with her music. As the night drew to a close and guests began to leave, the bride took a moment to reflect quietly. She thought about the power of simple acts of courage, the beauty of sharing one's talents freely, and the way small decisions could create lasting memories. The daughter had come into her life unexpectedly, yet she had left an indelible mark, reminding everyone present of the value of trust, kindness, and openness. By the time the last guest departed, the bride knew that her wedding had become more than just a celebration of love. It had become a celebration of human connection, of the magic that occurs when people share their gifts without hesitation, and of the lasting impact of a kind heart. The daughter's presence had transformed the day, creating moments that would live on in memory and story long after the music faded away. The wedding day had finally come to an end. The lights were dimmed, leaving only the soft glow of lanterns and candles. The bride stood in the quiet hall, reflecting on the whirlwind of the day. Guests had left with smiles and laughter still lingering, leaving the couple with a sense of peace and fulfillment. The music, the laughter, and the warm conversations had faded into memory, yet one presence remained vivid in her mind: the young girl who had played her music and touched the hearts of everyone present. As she looked around, the bride felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The daughter had not only performed with grace and skill, but she had also reminded everyone of the power of courage, sincerity, and sharing one's gifts freely. The memory of the music floated in her mind, bringing a smile to her face. She could still feel the emotion in each note, the way it had connected everyone in the room, creating a shared experience of beauty and warmth. The bride thought back to the morning when the stranger had first approached her with the request. At the time, she had been unsure, hesitant to allow someone she didn't know to take part in such an important day. Yet now, she realized that saying yes had created one of the most memorable and meaningful moments of her wedding. It had reminded her that sometimes, the most extraordinary experiences come from unexpected places, from people who step forward with honesty and courage. The daughter, quietly standing nearby with her mother, had remained humble throughout the day. She had shared her talent not for recognition or applause, but because she genuinely loved music and wanted to connect with others. The bride admired this quality deeply, seeing in her a reflection of the beauty that came from giving without expectation. She realized that this simple act of generosity had left a lasting impression on everyone. As the bride walked over to the daughter and her mother, she felt a warmth in her chest. "I want to thank you again," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "Your music has given me a gift that I will carry forever. You didn't just play notes. You shared your heart, and it made this day unforgettable." The daughter's eyes lit up with a shy smile, and the mother's face glowed with pride. It was a quiet, heartfelt moment, one that didn't require words to convey its depth. They spent a few minutes talking, sharing small stories and laughter. The bride asked about the daughter's experiences, how she had learned to play, and what inspired her to keep practicing. The mother explained the challenges they had faced moving to a new town and how music had been a source of comfort and expression for her daughter. The bride listened attentively, touched by the resilience and dedication she heard in their voices. She realized that these qualities had shone through in every note played during the day, making the performance even more meaningful. The bride then suggested that they stay in touch. She wanted to see how the daughter's talent would grow and to continue supporting her in any way possible. The mother nodded gratefully, promising that they would maintain the connection. There was an unspoken understanding that this day had created more than just a memory. It had formed a lasting bond between them. Later, as the bride and her new spouse sat together, she reflected on the lessons of the day. She realized that weddings were about more than just love between two people. They were about connection, community, and the ways in which kindness and talent could bring people together. The daughter's performance had exemplified these truths, showing that even a stranger could leave a profound impact if given the chance. The bride thought about how life often placed people in her path at unexpected moments. Sometimes these encounters were brief, fleeting, and easily forgotten. Other times, they became transformative, leaving lasting impressions that shaped memories and hearts forever. The daughter had entered her life for one day, but the effects of her courage, talent, and sincerity would remain long after the final guests had gone home. In the quiet hours after the celebration, the bride found herself replaying the daughter's performance in her mind. She remembered the softness of the first notes, the gentle swell of emotion, and the way the melody had flowed effortlessly through the room. It had not been loud or demanding, yet it had captivated everyone, creating a shared moment of beauty and reflection. She realized that this was the true magic of music, its ability to unite people, convey emotion, and create memories that endure. The daughter, sitting nearby with her mother, was quietly packing her instrument. She looked around the empty hall with a sense of satisfaction. The day had been overwhelming at times, but the warmth and appreciation she had received made every challenge worthwhile. She had played from her heart, and in doing so, she had connected with dozens of people she had never met before. The experience had given her confidence and reminded her of why she loved music so deeply. The mother squeezed her daughter's shoulder gently, sharing a proud, knowing look. She had always supported her child's passion, and today had proven the value of perseverance, courage, and belief in one's talents. She was grateful that the bride had been open-minded enough to allow her daughter the opportunity, knowing that it had changed not only the wedding day but also their lives in a small but meaningful way. As they left the venue, the bride lingered for a moment to take in the quiet beauty of the space. The flowers, the decorations, and the soft glow of the lights now held a new significance, intertwined with the memory of the music that had filled the room. She understood that the day's perfection had not come from flawless planning or meticulous attention to detail alone. It had come from the openness to unexpected moments, from the courage to allow someone new to share their gift, and from the genuine connections that had been formed. Driving home later, the bride thought about how she would tell this story in the years to come. She would remember the shy young girl who had stepped forward with her music, the mother who had encouraged her, and the way a simple act of courage had created a memory that would last forever. She realized that life was full of these small, transformative moments, and that embracing them could bring joy and meaning beyond measure. The wedding day had been a celebration of love, but it had also been a celebration of human spirit, courage, and kindness. The daughter's presence had reminded everyone of the power of talent shared freely, of moments created not by plan but by heart. The bride felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that this experience would remain a cherished part of her life, a story to tell and retell with warmth and gratitude. In the days that followed, the bride often reflected on the daughter and her music. She sent messages of thanks and encouragement, reinforcing the bond that had formed on that special day. She knew that the girl's talent and heart would continue to grow, and she felt proud to have been part of a moment that could inspire and uplift. The memory of the performance, and the courage it represented, became a symbol for the bride of openness, trust, and the beauty of unexpected joy. As time went on, the bride found herself sharing this story with friends and family, describing the young musician, the mother's quiet support, and the unforgettable performance that had made her wedding day truly special. Every retelling carried the same emotion, the same sense of wonder at how one person, stepping forward with honesty and talent, could leave such a lasting mark. The daughter had become more than just a performer at a wedding. She had become a symbol of courage, inspiration, and the magic that comes when hearts are open. Looking back, the bride realized that the wedding had been perfect not because everything went according to plan, but because it had allowed for the unexpected, the heartfelt, and the genuine. The stranger's daughter had entered the day quietly, with humility and talent, and had transformed it in ways that could never be forgotten. The experience had shown that when people share their gifts freely and with sincerity, they can touch lives, create lasting memories, and leave the world a little brighter. The bride carried this lesson with her, understanding that life's most meaningful moments often come from the courage to allow new experiences, to trust strangers, and to embrace the beauty of unexpected connections. The daughter's music had been more than a performance. It had been a reminder of the power of generosity, authenticity, and heart. And in that quiet, enduring memory, the bride knew that she had witnessed something truly extraordinary, a gift that would stay with her forever.